The fact that Tyler Perry continues to do this again and again and again lets me know it's not going to change unless we do something about it. This is not going to be my traditional review analysis style, but in this video, I want to talk about my official hypothesis for why Tyler Perry continues to feed us garbage and what will happen if we continue to ingest it. I saw Mea Culpa, and it was characterized in the trailers and all of the promotional material that it was going to be an erotic thriller. So I already had in my mind that this was going to be some basement version of 50 Shades of Grey, which I did not see, but I knew that it was probably going to be artistic smut. I was not expecting the softcore corn, which I will be using for the remainder of this video, that I saw. And I just should probably put out in the front end of this that I usually do not watch movies that are disturbing in that way, and specifically around, textual activities and textual things, because I don't think that my eyes and ears should take that in. I'm not interested in having that type of imagery in the Rolodex of my mind and in my psyche. And in order to keep this as clear as possible, I just refrained from it. I knew sort of what I was getting into when I started watching it. Mia, she's a lawyer who is played by Chloe Rowland, and she's going through some marriage, some financial troubles. And when she is asked to take on the case of an acclaimed painter named Zaire, played by Trevante Rhodes, he's alleged to have murdered his girlfriend. And so she kind of hesitates to take on the case at first, but then she's drawn in because everyone around her, including her husband's family, who are very disrespectful, are telling her, don't take this case. Like, he's a murderer, like, leave it alone. But she decides to take it anyway. And she obviously is drawn into this web of this BDSM style world of sex control and manipulation. I'm going to refute 5 arguments that a lot of people like to make when it comes to watching movies. I noticed that there's kind of a similar pattern that the, a consumer audience that we all take when things like this come out from some of our art makers. And I want to refute every single one. So argument number 1, it is just a movie, right? Lighten up. It's just a movie. It's entertainment. Here's the thing about entertainment. It enters you.
What did he say?
There's something more than just being engaged or enthralled by the things you're seeing in front of us. We have to remember that when it comes to screens, when it comes to the black mirror that is TV and film and content, it's not just about passively watching, although that's what we're typically used to. It is about coming in to our eyes, our ears, our senses, and really inviting us into, sometimes without even our own permission, inviting us into a conversation. And the conversation goes a little something like this. Here's this idea, agenda, or perspective that I'd like to share with you. Do you align with it? Do you completely disagree with it? Doesn't matter. Entertainment doesn't care. They just want you to invite it in to yourself. Right? So on a spiritual standpoint, some of that stuff where you might be more curated. You might say, you know what? I'm not going to listen to a bunch of foul language or listen to see a lot of violence or drugs or whatever, because I want to not have that come in and kind of take root in my spirit and my soul. Media on our psyche tends to have a really interesting effect. There's tons of studies done around how media affects children and youth, but also for adults. We often think, well, I know it's a movie, it doesn't matter, but you got to remember there is a bit of a monkey see, monkey do that's happening where you'll go to a movie and something sad will happen and you'll start to cry. And there's a reason for that, because there is an empathy or a connection to what you're seeing, even though it's not real. So that first argument of it's just a movie or anything when it comes to entertainment, it doesn't matter. I just want you to remember that sometimes you don't have a choice, or your body, your mind, your spirit doesn't have a choice about what they're engaging with. And if you're not careful, if you're not diligent to discern what's going on and what's coming in and kind of separate the truth from the fiction, you might end up fantasy in a world that is not real. This is also why a lot of us get our ideas about relationships, about family, marriage, children, God, the universe. This is why we get our ideas from content. Argument number 2, that there is an audience for Tyler Perry movies. Here's the thing. I understand that Tyler Perry has been doing this for, over 20 years at this point. And he is very familiar with the landscape of the audience, his base, the people who are diehard supporters. He knows what tickles their ears. He knows what they want. So there's always going to be an audience for garbage. And what I mean by that is that I'm a big fan of like looking at something and saying, okay, representation matters, right? We hear that all the time. Representation matters, but only if it's quality. Tyler does not care about that second half. So his mind at this point, and from what we can see evidenced by the work he creates, his mind is only interested in putting his ideas, his agenda, his point of view on screen. He's not really interested or cares what the after effects of that are. And I think about this like this, like there's an audience for a lot of things that are really destructive, right? Birth of a Nation, not the one that got Nate canceled, but I'm talking about Birth of a Nation back in the early 19th century. 20th century rather. Birth of a Nation was a movie that had incredibly racist ideals, and it was created for the propaganda of Black people being lesser than white people. Like there's an audience for that. There was an audience for that. Here we are in 2024, and there is an audience for pornography, right? And in fact, it's a booming industry and business. And what we have to wonder is, does that make it valid because there's an audience for it? There is an audience for pretty much anything destructive. I want us to be mindful that just because there is representation and just because he's putting Black folks on screen, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing. In fact, there might be benefit to our representation and stereotypes being decimated if he didn't have access. Argument number 3, Tyler Perry has done so much for the Black film community. My first question, has he? Like, really, has he? And I'm saying that authentically and not condescendingly. Well, there's a little bit of condescension. I don't even care as much about the rumor of reputation around what he's doing. I already know with my own heart and mind that he has yet to really resource and fund Black filmmakers. Like, why hasn't Tyler Perry made a major investment in Hooray, which is Issa Rae's company? Why hasn't Tyler Perry come alongside people like Spike Lee and like other filmmakers, Robert Townsend, somebody that comes to mind? Why hasn't he started to invest in the next generation of filmmakers? And, someone correct me in the comments, he may very well have some type of underground or even nonprofit activities that he's doing, because I know he's very involved in the Atlanta community and making sure that there's advocacy around other things, but I haven't yet seen this in the investment of Black creatives and Black artists. And that concerns me greatly as a Black artist, but it also concerns me because I think we will look at the movies and see our faves in his films, and we don't consider that maybe there is such a thing as being connected to these folks for association purposes, for credibility purposes, which brings me to argument number 4. I always laugh at Medea, or I always laugh at Tyler Perry. You and every other church auntie. Like, he's not interested in making nuanced stories about quirky or interesting Black women. He just wants to make continued stereotypes or continue to make women these kind of weak-willed, bend at the knees whenever a man shows up type of perspective. And I'm not talking about in a feminist, like progressive perspective. I'm not saying in the modern woman perspective. I'm saying he genuinely doesn't seem interested in the complexities, or perhaps he doesn't have the ability, the language for the complexity of the Black woman experience. And yet he continues to make content that stars them and features them. And that concerns me as a woman, but it also concerns me for little girls. It concerns me for little young men, right? And how they see women and what their thoughts are. We don't need to rehash this here, but Black women already have such a difficult time with the conversation around being strong, independent, aggressive, confrontational, trying to push men away, thinking men ain't stuff, but then at the exact same time, wanting a man and being single forever. There's so many things that are already put around and over us as stereotypes and things that people want us to absorb and say, this is who we are. I reject those, obviously, but I have the privilege and the benefit of being able to reject those. I have the privilege of being able to like sit and know who I am in Christ and not all of the stuff the world might say that I am. I am, as an artist, offended by Tyler Perry because he won't get better at his craft and he won't bring in people who can make him better. But as a Christian, as a believer, I'm so disappointed that he would take advantage of this audience for so long. I feel like he's taking advantage of a group that's not going to hold him to the fire, right? They're not going to challenge him. They will say, I'm just going to support Tyler Perry because he's always been great to us. And they're not asking him to grow in any real way. But that's what this video is. That's why I am refuting these arguments, because if Tyler Perry watched this, I would ask him, please grow in some way or interact with people who are growing so that we don't continue to make these films that aren't good for us. Cake is good. It's enjoyable to eat cake with the icing and everything, but you can't live off cake. You have to eat things that are nourishing to your body. And that's what I'm asking Tyler for. Like, I'm genuinely concerned that you continue to feed people movies and content that will decimate them as people. Like, it doesn't make them whole or integral or encourage them, invite them to do different. It's the same old thing out of like love and respect from another creative person who is not a billionaire, right? I don't have a studio base. I am a normal, small person, but I believe that this is damaging and harmful. And this is my last argument. When people say, I love fill in the blank, and they did a Tyler Perry movie, that this idea of stunt casting is incredibly smart. It's incredibly strategic on the part of filmmakers. Put someone famous that everybody recognizes in a movie, we're going to support, especially if we're fans of that. And with this movie, we have Kelly Rowland, of course, who is very well known and obviously, has been a star for decades. We have Trevante Rhodes, who is also incredibly famous and, has been doing so many notable roles, but is most known for Moonlight. And so you're using these people who have credibility and you're putting them in a movie. And so people are saying, I love that person. I'm going to support Tyler Perry's work because he's putting this talented person on the map. What Tyler Perry has done with me personally as a consumer and as a fan is lost credibility because he continues to underdo what he can do. But what he has done with his work, with the actors that are associated, is they often are guilty by association. I'm not sure that they would say their career had this massive boon without the other effects of a Tyler Perry credit. I know that he's put many an actor on the map. The two I can think about right off the top of my head, Idris Elba and Taraji P. Henson. Not saying that he made them or anything, just saying that they really got more eyeballs because they were in Tyler Perry films. But if you ever notice, it seems, I could be wrong, but it seems like they almost get capped. Like they can't go any higher a lot of times. And when they do, right? When they do break out, they're uniquely talented. So I'm not saying that they shouldn't be allowed. But I really think that the being guilty by association is not just a Tyler Perry principle that's discouraging. It's also a principle for us. We need to realize that sometimes the things that we watch, the things that we listen to, the things that we engage with and put ourselves connected to or see ourselves in is actually an indication of some of the brokenness on the inside of us. I'm not just saying that watching a Tyler Perry movie is going to make you broken. But what I am saying is if you find yourself entertained, engrossed, obsessed with something that is harmful, destructive, damaging to this, to who you are as a person, I would wonder what that exposes about you. I wonder what that exposes about me. When I get entertained by certain things, I gotta be like, hold up, something is not right in here. Because that's not funny. That's not entertaining. That's not good. So I'm just saying that before you and with you, I want us to investigate this because it continues to happen. Like he's He's not backing down. He will continue doing this. And he has all the resources to do this for a long period of time. So why not use that time, Tyler, team, whoever is connected to him, why not use that time to make really great and excellent stuff? I was so taken aback watching this movie and realizing we went from Diary of a Mad Black Woman to Black 50 Shades of Grey. I couldn't wrap my head around the jump that had happened. And I said, this is on us. We have to take responsibility for this. We are the reason these people continue. They continue to profit. They continue to create. They continue to produce, even if it's not good. That's on us. Because they would stop if there was no money in it. My whole point in saying any of this, if you've watched this far, is not to shame anyone, condemn anyone for watching and partaking in some of the entertainment that we have now. But my point is that if we kept going like this in life, it would be unsustainable. It would be unsustainable. We could not eat cake for the rest of our lives. We would need to eat meat. We would need to eat nourishment. Sorry, vegetarians and vegans, I ain't trying to offend y'all. But we would need to eat nutritious food. We could not eat junk food all the time. And that is what the buffet of the mind of Tyler Perry is. It's junk food. It's trash. It's actually probably worse than junk food. We might as well fast. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments below, because as you guys know, this is a conversation. I'm sharing a little bit of my thoughts, possibly cancelable thoughts. And before I go, I do want to shout out my friend Brittany over at For the Nostalgia TV. We will be doing a live stream this upcoming Thursday. So for whatever day you're watching, it'll be February 29th. And I would love to have you guys come through. Make sure you show up in the live. We will be going ham on the themes of the actual movie, but love to have you guys join us for that. But until the next video, I'll see you later. Bye now.